going to have a quick discussion about is how to access properties before they even hit the market. So you've already done all the hard work with Lee or your chosen mortgage provider to get your pre-approval in place, and now you're ready to hit the road and find that right property for you. So there's some really good things to do is to reach out to local agents in the area, especially if there's a certain location that you've been wanting to buy in, and have a chat to them. Most of your agents in this area will be nice and friendly and want to be able to help you, and you can be added to their database, get your email address, they'll email you whenever there's an upcoming listing coming. They can keep on the phones with you, keep on the phone with them, and get access to properties before they even go live to the marketplace. So yeah, chatting to local real estate agents is a really good way to empower yourself as well and know what's happening in the local market. And so when you found that right property, you want to buy with confidence. And so once you go, yeah, this is the one for me, put your money where your mouth is, and put an offer on the table. There can be a bit of negotiation back and forth, and once you get to the right sale price, there's some due diligence that you need to do. So having building pest inspection, chatting to your legal team, of course, as well is really, really important. They'll be assisting you with the finalisation of the sale process. The deposit, so you normally have a 5 or 10% deposit. Most will stipulate 10%, but that can be also negotiated depending on circumstances. And that gets paid into the agency trust account. So that gets held securely until such time as the property settles, and it gets paid to the vendor. And then settlement day, when we're buying and selling, so buying, we contact you as the agent, say, come and have a look through the property before it settles, make sure it's exactly the way that you're expecting it to be, that no walls have been taken out or appliances that are meant to be left there have been taken away, all those sorts of things. Make sure the property's in that kind of condition that you're expecting it to be in. That's what your duties are as a purchaser, and obviously if you're selling the property, you need to be out of there. So get your moving boxes out, get everything ready to go. Present the property as you would like it to be presented if you were moving into the property. So we really do encourage you to mow all the lawns, get it nice and clean, get a professional cleaner in is often a really good idea, just because you're exhausted after packing all your boxes. So yeah, do all those things, as I said, present the property as you would like it to be if you were moving to the property as well. So that's just a very, very brief rundown of what you can expect on buying the property. But today's focus really is on the legal side of things. So I'm going to pass over to Yasmin and Kirby.
Thank you. Thank you, Jess and Lee, for inviting me here to talk tonight. So I've been doing conveyancing, I don't want to say for nearly 2 decades, but pretty close to it. I was going to talk about more of a contract preparation when you're selling. So obviously before the real estate agent tells anyone about something coming onto the market, she would have a contract that we would prepare. Absolutely politely. Because legally they are required to have a contract and we are to prepare that. So in that contract there's full vendor disclosure, or there should be, where the vendor discloses if there's any unapproved works, which sometimes pops up through conversations that we have with the buyer as well as the seller. And then all the documents about the contract itself. So you've got your title search, which shows the owner as the legal registered proprietor, and any easements and restrictions on title. So restrictions are what you can and can't build there. Most of the time it affects if you buy vacant land and you're wanting to build, because the builder will have to comply with those restrictions. So with that, you would also need a 10.7, which is a planning certificate from council. That shows the zoning. So the generalisation is the R2 low density residential, which is sweet for any first home buyers. It's just so if you're going to live there and enjoy life, well, that's the best one. And then you've got a few different variations of zoning, so that's something else. Then you've got your sewer and drainage diagrams, so it shows that they run through the property as well. If it's a newly built home, so within 6 years, the vendor has to have a homeowner's warranty insurance and occupation certificate attached to the contract. These are all prescribed documents, and the buyer would in fact rescind if none of them are attached to the contract. So it's very swimming pool or a spa, you do need to get those government compliance certificates attached to the contract as well. So that's really the sales side of things, but as a vendor, you should fully disclose anything, even if you're unsure it may or may not have council approval. It's a big thing to not disclose. If you don't disclose and it's found out later by the purchaser, they can come back and seek compensation from you for that non-disclosure. So it is a big issue if you do not disclose, but once you've put it out there in the contract, then that's it. So it's all finalised. The buyer accepts it and they can't do anything about that. Obviously, as Jess said, if you're selling, the vendor's obligation is to pack up, move their personal items from the property by settlement date. Then we talk about inclusions and exclusions as well. So inclusions are something that are fixed, that should remain at the property, and anything that is fixed should be noted as an exclusion if they were going to take it. So there's a few things that they need to be aware of as well. And the lovely Australian government has brought in that you have to get foreign resident capital gains clearance certificates every time you sell. Otherwise, you'll be paying 15% of your sale price to the ATO on settlement. So it's a crackdown on foreign investors not paying their taxes. So that's something that we all have to get now. So it's a big cost if you don't get it. But that's an overview of what a contract would, as a vendor side of things, would have to do. But Kirby's going to make some comments about purchasing.
All right. So I guess following on from what Yasmin was talking about is the vendor provides us with a contract. And initially, especially if you're a first home buyer, you've now seen this 90-odd page contract and you think, holy crap, what is this? There's about 21 pages of fine print this big of legislation, and with all these strange titles and terms and things you have never seen in your life. But that's what we're here for. We do it every single day. We read these contracts every day. We prepare the contracts. The beauty of us being also acting for purchasers and vendors is that we can put both hats on. So we can think, as a vendor, we are preparing the contract. We're disclosing all these things. We're advising our vendors on A, B, and C. When we are purchasers, we put our purchaser hat on, knowing what the vendor has done up to this point and knowing what we now need to do for our purchasers. Now, I always like to say to purchasers, and I know Yasmin does as well, is that you're not naive for not knowing what you're doing and what the process is and where you start. That's our job. So no question is ever stupid. Don't think you're annoying us or sending us too many emails or ringing too many times for a question you've thought of, because you're not meant to know. Some people are lucky enough that they have bought and sold and bought and sold, and they know exactly what needs to be done. They know what formal finance is. They know a pest and building guide. They know, that what a 5% deposit is compared to a 10% deposit. They know where they're up to in the process, but especially for first home buyers, you're not meant to know because you are quite literally first home buyers. So that's where we come in, really. So once you've put your money where your mouth is and you've had your offer accepted, it's really exciting. It is. You think, we're buying a property. And then sometimes you call us and you say, I've had an offer accepted on a property, I bought it. Unfortunately, not yet. There are a few things, that's what referred to as due diligence, that we like to go through with you, and things that we would always recommend you do before we have officially bought a property. Now, number one, that is probably where you would kind of start, is usually, unless you are in a big rush or a perfect property has come up, you'd like to have your finance pre-approval in place. Especially first home buyers, again, because I believe there's a couple in the room, is you like to at least have an idea of where you're shopping at. Because you don't want to, go out, yes, we're buying a property, and then find out that you can probably only borrow maybe half of what you were thinking. At least having that pre-approval in place, you've got an idea. You can start putting your names down with agents. You can ask Jessie, hey, I'm looking in this area, this is my pre-approval. What have you got? What's coming up? What are you thinking? At least then you have a realistic idea of where you're looking at. So once you've found it, you put the offer in, that's great. your broker will then most likely say, okay, that's great, we're now going to move to formal approval. So you start at pre-approval and then you move to formal / unconditional approval. So your pre-approval is usually based on, you know, our research and what we've looked at your finances so far. You can probably borrow about this much. We now need to do a valuation on the property and move to your unconditional. We are definitely giving you the money. Now, the unconditional approval is something that we will always very strongly recommend you have your unconditional formal loan approval before we are exchanging the contract. Just because you don't want to find yourself down the track, we actually have officially bought a property and now the bank's not going to give me any money. That's when we're thinking worst case scenario, you don't want to end up there. Obviously, we will assist you if that's where it does end up, but you can bet that we will be telling you not to exchange until you've got your formal finance approval. Now, after you've had the offer accepted, in terms of a timeline of events, offer is accepted, a sales advice is then issued, which gives us the details of the offer, vendor's name, purchaser's name, agreed price, any other conditions, 5% deposit, 10% deposit. We then get sent that sales advice, and so does the conveyancer / solicitor that is working for the vendor. They'll then issue the actual sale contract. Now, at this point, you've probably seen a contract, a listing contract that the agent has to have, which is the one we've prepared before it went on the market. We'll then get a formal one that has your name as the purchaser on it and the price. That is the contract that we need. That is also then most likely the contract that your bank will need to move to your finance. We then have a look at that contract. So we go through things like the conditions in it. We advise you on the property. We look at all those prescribed documents, the easements, the restrictions, anything else that may have been agreed. We look at the zoning of the property, anything that is permitted or not permitted in that area, and we go from there really. In the background of us doing our thing and giving you your advice, your bank's moving towards your formal unconditional loan approval, and you will be arranging pest and building inspections. So usually those, I guess, 3 of the biggest checks of finance, pest and building contract all kind of usually happen simultaneously at the same time as we're working towards exchange. We often refer to it as getting your ducks in a row. We want to tick all our boxes, get all of our ducks in a row before we are completely committed to buying this property. Once we've ticked all those boxes, we've ticked all our ducks, then we look at proceeding to an exchange of contracts. Now, an exchange of contracts is actually when the legally binding agreement comes into place. All parties have entered into a legally binding agreement. The contract is exchanged. We put a date on the front. The property is now officially sold to you. Yay. So that's when it can feel a bit more real that it's now officially sold to you. Now that's getting to exchange. So that's already a lot of information, just getting to exchange. A lot of things, well, am I doing it in the right order? What should I be doing now? I want to get to exchange as quick as possible. And of course we do. So does the vendor and so does the purchaser, because that is when the property is sold.
And definitely
the agent. Yes, definitely the real estate agent. If you think you're being annoying calling us, not as annoying as the real estate agent. But that's our job. You're not meant to know the process. You're not meant to know at all. Just ask the question, like completely ask the question. Now, after all of that information, we're at exchange. You can go and put your sold sticker up, get your photo, put it on Instagram. Yeah, we've sold a property. We're now in the settlement period. So prior to us exchanging, when we're getting all of our ducks in a row, you'd also be looking at the settlement period. So perhaps a vendor might already have on their contract that they needed a longer settlement of 90 days. For whatever reason, you know, they need time to move out, they've committed to another purchase that they're trying to align, you just don't know. Standard settlement timeframes, settlement periods is a 42-day settlement. That's what we generally see. That's, you know, for most people that don't really have a preference at this stage, depends how quickly a purchaser comes along or not. So once we've exchanged, we're in this contract, we're now in settlement. So from that date of exchange, you quite literally count 42 days ahead and that's our settlement date. So in that settlement period, the vendor is packing up their things and getting ready to move. You guys might be doing the same, packing up your things, getting your insurance in place, making plans for this house that you're going to own. So the important thing to remember in that settlement period is that you don't actually own the property yet. You've entered into a contract to buy it, and the vendor has entered into a contract to sell it, but we don't own it yet. So in that settlement period, us as conveyancers are doing quite a lot. We're ordering inquiries, we're preparing settlement figures, we're getting ready for the day that the ownership transfers from this person to you. Now, usually at about a week to 2 weeks before settlement, we prepare the settlement figures. Now, if you haven't already been brainwashed by all the information we've thrown at you already, we then give you with some lovely settlement figures that show a lot of money and a lot of to the cent, and this is where it's going here, and you're paying stamp duty here, and then you're paying a rego fee, and this, that, and the other. That again can be quite daunting for anyone, especially first home buyers, because we've never had a mortgage before, we've never had talking of $800,000, and all of a sudden we send you a lovely email that says you need to transfer this much money into this account, and you think, holy shit, that's a lot of money. Again, ask the question, ask, hey, what am I paying for here? What am I paying for there? Because you need to understand it's your money and you're paying us to do the job, so you ask the question. We're talking pre-settlement. So pre-settlement, we're doing our figures, we're looking at how much your bank's providing versus how much we need, including your stamp duty, paying our professional fees. There's also a fee to use the electronic workspace, and right down the bottom there will be an exact number to the cent that we need for you to own this property, really? So we sort out that. Some people are lucky enough that they don't need a bank. There's not many of those people, but some people are, and so they don't need to consider how much is my bank providing, how much savings do I have, how much did the broker tell me I'd have to provide, oh my God, do I have enough savings? Some people are lucky enough that they don't even have to worry about that, but more people do have to worry about it. So again, don't panic. You ask, where is that $20 going? And we will tell you. On settlement day, like Jessie spoke, under the contract, under legislation, you're entitled to one pre-settlement inspection. Please do your pre-settlement inspection, because as much as we like to rely on people being good people and presenting the property nicely and not leaving their rubbish everywhere, some people just aren't good people and they leave the property in not nice states. And if you haven't done that inspection and we settle, it's now your rubbish and that's your problem. Pretty much, as bluntly as that sounds, that is then your problem. You now own the property. So on that settlement day, we give you the yay call. You actually now officially own a property. Go and get the keys, and it's yours. And welcome to owing the bank a lot of money. Yes. Now, if we go right back to the beginning, talking about your due diligence, we've got our finance, pest and building inspections. Now, every contract for the sale and purchase of land will always have a condition that says you are purchasing the property in its current state of repair. So that is why it is really important, whilst you're probably going to be out of pocket a couple of $100 for the pest and building inspection, you need to know. And very unfortunately, if you found out that the house was full of termites, yeah, you've probably lost maybe $500 on your pest and building inspection, but that's better than having spent $800,000 on a house that's full of termites, really. That's thinking, being very dramatic, full of termites. But doing the pest and building also allows you to make informed and educated decisions about the property. You're thinking, hey, I'm paying $800,000 for this property, but it needs all this work. How is that going to work out for me? So yeah, you're purchasing it in its current state of repair. So please do those inspections, please. Because yeah, we just don't want to see you ending up owning a property that you didn't do your inspections and there's all these issues, and here we are in a lot of debt and a property that wasn't what we thought it was going to be. So yeah, if you're talking due diligence, it's finance, pest and building, and us looking at the contract, really. Again, That was a lot of information in one go. But the main thing is, like we said at the start, ask the question. Even if you're only just starting to look, you've only just spoken to your broker, we've only just got pre-approval, I'm thinking of looking, give us a call, send us an email. Hey, what do I need to do now? What is the process once my offer has been accepted? Like I said, you're not naive, not knowing what you're meant to do. Because we're meant to know what we have to do, and that's what you pay us for. Really? Yeah. That was a lot of information, and I'm sorry. There's a lot more on purchasing.
So now that you have found your dream home, you've gone through all your due diligence, and you've gone through all that paperwork from me as a broker, and got all your finance approved, and now you've got the keys to your house and a 30-year mortgage. Yay! Every day. Do you know how many days that is? I don't know. I haven't worked it out. I don't want to know. So I'm going to talk today about a few ways that you can actually shave off that 30 years, get it down a little bit quicker. Why do you want to pay it off earlier? Any reason? Want to save some money on your interest? Reduce the loan term, which means it's all paid off a little bit earlier. It could also free up the equity you've got in your own home. So that could mean that it offers some opportunity to use that equity to buy an investment property. So you could start building up your property portfolio. The other thing is, you could retire sooner. Anyone want to retire sooner? I do. So how do we make that happen? The first and easiest way is just to make some extra repayments. Really simple way, just round it up. Round it up to the nearest $20, $50, and you'll be surprised at how much that shaves off. I was going to do a demo on our calculators on our website. Feel free to go and have a look. There's some really good examples there. There's an example in your booklet as well. How much you could use either an offset account or just those extra repayments can pay it off sooner. The other way is to use your tax return, a bonus over time. Those one-off windfalls you had, win at the races or lotto or the pokey something. Just plonk that extra. You haven't had it before, so pay it off your home loan. That will shave it down and save you some interest, and that means it gets paid off sooner. The other thing is to change the frequency. If you're making monthly repayments, and you can change that, just divide it by 4 to give you a weekly repayment, and that can make a big difference as well. Effectively, if you divide your monthly repayment by 4 over a 12-month period, you have actually made 13 monthly repayments. So you're already a month ahead. So if you think of that over a 30-year loan term, you've already shaved off a couple of years. Another big one that us brokers love. Review your current interest rate. Have a look, and some people are a little bit shocked when they have a look at what their interest rate. Now the RBA just dropped their interest rate. We're pretty all happy about that. Don't know when the next one's going to come. So have a look at your current interest rate, contact your broker, source out a new broker if you need to, and just have a review. It doesn't mean that we need to refinance your loan somewhere else. It could mean that with your current lender, that broker can go in and negotiate with your current lender, and with the threat, we negotiate of going to a different lender, and it's surprising how much their retention team will cut your interest rate back, and you don't need to even move. So very easy to save you some money in that way, just by using the expertise and the knowledge of a broker. The other thing we can do is make use of an offset account. Now there's a leaflet, a little diagram in your booklet as well for offset accounts. What an offset account is a separate transaction account, but it's linked to your home loan. So any amount of money that you've got sitting in there, say example 20,000, if your loan amount is, let's use round figures, 520,000, and you've got 20,000 sitting in your offset, that means every night that that's sitting there, every night they do this little calculation, little man in doing all the cogs, working out how much you owe on your interest. So every night, they look at what your outstanding loan balance is. Now, if you've got an offset account linked, they're going to take that balance off your existing loan balance, and then your interest is only calculated on the difference. So if you think about it, instead of paying interest on 520,000, you're only paying it on 500,000. Now the other plus is that when that money is sitting in a regular transaction account and earning interest, the taxman likes to take a little bit of that because they look at that as income. So when it's this way, you're not paying tax on it, but you're also getting that interest rate saving on your home loan. The next thing that we always look at, or we suggest you look at, have a look at your personal debts. So are you paying 20% on a car loan? Are you paying 25% on a credit card? Do you have a lot of debts there that if we consolidated them into one regular repayment on a personal loan, it could mean that your repayments are much less, you're paying less interest on that, and then you've got leftover money to put towards your home loan as well. So that's another good one that you can have a look at. Have a look at your, and this is even before you get a mortgage, have a look at your spending habits, have a look at your subscriptions. I can't tell you enough times. Look at those subscriptions. Do you need all of your media streaming? Do you need 5 gym memberships? My rule of thumb is have a look over the last 3 months. If you've not used that subscription 3 times in 3 months, get rid of it. It's a luxury, it's not a necessity. If you've only used it 3 times in 3 months, don't need it. You can always resubscribe. You know, if you're really missing Stan or whatever it is, Yellowstone or something, you know, come on. Then the other thing is just have a look at those calculators. Have a look at our website, have a look at the calculators. You can play around with them, doesn't cost you anything. Have a look at those. And also, you know, working with your mortgage broker. Once you've got a loan, you've started paying it off, you've built that equity, talk to your mortgage broker about opportunities to possibly buy an investment property and how that can actually then help you saving on your interest as well. Not going into too much of that, there will be more of that in a later session, and there's a lot of area there for your accountant to talk to you about as well. But I just wanted to touch today on just ways that you can pay that home loan off sooner so that it's not sitting there in 29 years and then 11 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. That was very informative of all you lovely ladies. So now we've just got time for some question and answers, and usually no one is going enough to put their hand up. So I'll start with a couple of questions that we've got here for some of our panel here, but please feel free to pop your hand up at any time and interrupt us, and the lovely ladies will help you out there. So one of the first questions I've got for Jessie, I was going to ask how much deposit do we need to pay, but she's already answered that, which was 5 to 10%. So I thought I'd ask you, what documents are required when signing up with an agent to sell your property? Good question, Lucinda. So when you're signing up with an agent to sell your property, there are legal documents that we require in order to even to start talking about your property, let alone even list it. So as Yasmin quite accurately said, we need a contract of sale prepared by a conveyancer or a solicitor, and we also need a sales agency agreement with the agent of your choice. So they're the 2 legal documents that we require. Also, as part of our due diligence to make sure you are who you say you are, we also ask for ID checks, so just your driver's license, Medicare card, the land rates and water rates notices are, whilst they're good for checking ID, we also like to get those ones as well, because that's a commonly asked questions by purchasers, and so that's doubling up. We're getting a bit of information out of it, as well as making sure that we're doing all our compliance checks for that. So yeah, purchasers really need to know and like to know, they don't need to know, they like to know how much they're going to be paying ongoing, as well as with all their loan repayments, what their rates are going to be on a quarterly basis, water rates and any other, if you're buying into a strata complex, what strata levies are, all those sorts of things. And so legally though, as I said, contract to sale and a sales agency agreement with the selling agent.
Thank you, Jessie. Another question is probably more about the current market at the moment. How long would it take to typically sell a home in this market, and maybe just give us a bit of a rundown of what is actually happening in the market at the moment?
Okay, so beginning of March 2025. So we saw a very quiet 2024 with very few property transactions in the Southern Highlands, or very few. They really died off comparatively to what we've had in previous years. The prices did drop off a little bit as well, so which is great for buyers. Not as good for sellers, of course. We always want top dollar for our properties. But in 2025, we have actually seen an increase in buyer demand, which is really positive for anyone looking to sell their properties. Also means that you guys need to be a bit more prepared, so that if you do see that property you like, that you're ready to jump onto it. We're seeing a lot of movement in the $1 million and under marketplace. So lots of first home buyers out there and a few investments around as well. So generally, days on market still are dragging out a little bit previous to what we've had. Anywhere between 60 and 90 days is very, very normal. Can even be a bit longer depending on the type of property. But as I said, there is definitely a bit more movement in the sub-$1 million market. So if you're looking to buy in that marketplace, get all your ducks in a row so that you can see that property and be ready to go and talk to Yasmin and Kirby and have already spoken to Lee.
Thank you, Jessie. I've just got a couple of questions for Anna, who's one of our lovely agents who has got a little booklet there preparing to sell. I'll come over to you, Anna. What small improvements can make a big difference in my sale price?
Thanks, Lou. Decluttering your home is this too loud now? No.
I just didn't want to scare you because right there I was like,
decluttering your home of, because we all have piles of knickknacks around the place, all of that needs to go. The house needs to be depersonalised as well, so if you've got photographs on the wall, all that sort of thing, because you want people coming through the house to see themselves living there. And if you've got all your stuff on the walls and it looks very much like your home, they're going to have a harder time doing that. You also need to keep your cupboards, take out all the crap that's in there, because we all have those cupboards. People look in the cupboards when they're going through your house, be assured. And even in your wardrobe, because the more space people see, they're under the impression then that the house has lots of storage, and that's, again, what people are looking for. It needs to feel light, bright and bigger, even if it's a small place.